Welcome to Strategic Planning and Implementation. My name is Pam Wilkinson. I will be the presenter today for this training session. I'm the owner of Authentic Living, LLC. I'm excited to present this topic in particular because it's near and dear to my heart. I've used this model that I will be sharing with you many times and find it to be foolproof if it is followed. If you haven't already done so, now would be a good time to download and print out the PDF handouts for this course. We will be using them during the class. First, a little bit about me. Professionally, I am what is referred to as a generalist because I have a broad background. Following college, I was a high school teacher for 4 years before moving to Oregon on a whim. That's a story for another time. Once in Oregon, I worked a couple of outside sales jobs before I became a department director at a large nonprofit organization serving all of Washington County. If you happen to live in Oregon, you may know of it. It's Community Action Organization. I worked there for a total of 14 years with brief interludes when my 2 children were born. I met and married the treasurer on the board of the nonprofit in 1992. Just a couple of years later, I left the agency to join him, filling an important role in his tax and accounting practice. 18 years later, we sold the CPA firm and set out for new adventures. I knew I wasn't ready to retire, so I explored the possibility of being a life coach. In September 2015, I was certified by the Life Mastery Institute and have been working ever since to build my business. The practice has evolved over time, leading to my current emphasis on business coaching. I have a working knowledge of every one of the skills that will be in this series of trainings. And in some of these, I have expertise. I believe that the world changes for the better one person at a time, and my passion is to help business owners and leaders both with personal issues and with specific issues impacting their livelihood. Personal and work life inevitably overlap, so it's important to focus on both. Strategic planning can be applied to any area in your life, whether it's being prepared for a special event like a wedding or planning for a corporate merger and everything in between. I intend to share with you a model that is easy and straightforward. So let's get started. First of all, what is strategic planning? Down in the lower right-hand corner, there's an illustration of what you do not want. That is not strategic planning. That looks like a bunch of roads going every which way, crossing over and under each other. It's chaos, essentially. That's the opposite of strategic planning. Here's a description. Strategic planning is a process undertaken by an organization to develop a plan for achievement of the overall long-term organizational goals. Key words in there are process. It's not a one-time thing. And long-term is another key part of what a strategic plan is. It's not for short-term goals. It's the highest level of planning. It's where you start. It's usually done once a year, and in some cases, it's an update each year rather than a whole new plan. It's a roadmap for an ongoing journey. Strategic planning is not a list of to-do items. It's also not a lofty statement without a plan for implementation, nor is it a recap of the past. There are 4 steps in strategic planning, and we'll be going into each one of them separately, but here are the 4 just as an overview. First, we analyze the current state. What's happening right now? Where are we? Excuse me. Then we define the future state. Third, we determine the objectives and strategies. And fourth, we implement and evaluate. It can be helpful to think of strategic planning as finding the sweet spot, as shown in this illustration. When we combine what we have with what we want, that satisfies 2 parts of the process. But we need a third part, what we can do, which is controlled by factors often outside of ourselves and not under our control. No man is an island, as the famous saying goes. Our external environment inevitably limits what we can do, so we need to find the sweet spot, the space where what we have, what we want, and what we can actually do overlap. So the first step is to analyze what we have. This is our current state of being and involves both the external and internal environments. Internally, we must analyze what we currently have going. This acronym gives a clue as to what we need to look at internally. We need to look at our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. Externally, there are factors that may be out of our control. We need to pay attention to what's happening with our competitors in order to stay competitive. We need to assess the strengths of our suppliers and the loyalty of our customers. This is where a market analysis can sometimes be helpful. Then there are regulatory limits. We need to know and stay current with what is happening in politics, society, the economy, technical developments, environmental requirements, and legal restrictions. If we don't take all of these factors into consideration, we are endangering the success of our plan and ultimately, perhaps, the success of our organization. The second step is to define the future state. What is it that we want in the future? We have to start with our core values. These are the guiding principles that govern how we behave and how we take action and what we take action on. We won't be able to succeed if what we end up with is not in sync with the values of the organization. Here are some examples of core values. First, from a personal standpoint, it might be a belief that family is of fundamental importance, or a belief that honesty is always the best policy. Or it might be that we believe in maintaining a healthy work-life balance. In business, we may have a commitment to sustainability and to acting in an environmentally friendly way. Companies like Patagonia and Ben & Jerry's have environmental sustainability as a core value. Or maybe it's a commitment to innovation and excellence. Apple Computer is perhaps best known for having a commitment to innovation as a core value. This is embodied by their Think Different motto. Another business commitment might be, or business value might be, a commitment to doing good for the whole. Google, for example, believes in making a great search engine and building a great company at the same time without resorting to evil, as they say. Next, we develop our mission and vision. This is the big picture. If we were to wave a magic wand, where would we want to be in 3 years, for example? What would we want to be doing? I could spend a whole session talking about how to develop an organization's vision and mission. Instead, I'll just give you a couple of examples so you get the idea. The first one is about the company called Sweetgreen. It's a destination for delicious food that's both healthy and aligned with values. They source local and organic ingredients from farmers that they know and partners they trust. And they support their communities and create meaningful relationships with those around them. They exist to create experiences where passion and purpose come together. The next example is IKEA. At IKEA, our vision is to create a better everyday life for the many people. They support this by offering a wide range of well-designed functional home furnishing products at prices so low that as many people as possible will be able to afford them. Okay, now we're going to get more specific about what we need to do. This is the how of the equation. We have our values, our vision, and our mission already decided. Those are the what and the why components. The remaining piece before we can start taking action in pursuit of our goals is to carefully develop the steps needed to reach them. If we as leaders say, we know what we want, now let's just go get it, we are in for major disappointment because, well, remember that illustration on the second slide showing a jumble of roads going every which way? Well, that's how we end up if we don't create and follow the tasks needed to get us to our goals. The consequence of not doing this level of planning is that we'll, at the least, we'll lose precious time. We'll have to come back to the drawing board to hammer out some action steps. And worst case scenario, our organization goes under, which would be tragic. And none of us want that to happen. So we create detailed, specific goals and strategies that lead towards accomplishment of the big goals. Using the acronym SMART, we want these to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. We consider these the building blocks, and we need to keep them fairly fluid because new information is going to come along, most likely, and there will be changes. So we have to adapt. Step 4 is implementation and evaluation, and this step, though it is the last step, is equally as important. We need to monitor and assess how we're doing and make adjustments as necessary. If we put the plan on the shelf and never revisit it, we are in jeopardy of either not following the needed steps or not adjusting our plans when we have new information. This step is vital to our success. Now we will be looking at an actual example and doing an exercise together. This exercise is in the handouts that hopefully you printed out by this time. I've already provided you with the first and second steps, which is the analysis of the current state and defining the future state. So if you'd like to look at the handouts to read along with these slides, that would be great. In this situation, we have two adults, John and Mary, and they have 3 children, with one more on the way, due in 6 months. Their current house has 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, 1,500 square feet. They have a small living area and kitchen. There's increased traffic in their neighborhood due to road widening projects and also increased noise because the widening of the roads has led to increased traffic as well. Now, defining the future state, we have to look again to start with at our core values. John and Mary want a good neighborhood. That's one of their core values. They want good schools, a convenient location, green spaces nearby, and their mission and vision is to find a home located in a nice neighborhood that is large enough to accommodate a growing family. The broad descriptions, good neighborhood and good schools, should actually be more specific. How do John and Mary decide if a neighborhood or schools are good? We won't do that here, but that is something that should be done. They also, well, defining again a little further, they want a larger home, ideally 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 2,500 square feet. A quality location to ensure that their property value will stay high. They want easy access to the neighborhood and good traffic flow. These are their goals, essentially. They don't want to be near any major thoroughfares, and they want the parks and green spaces within walking distance. They also would like to have a wide variety of retail establishments within 5 miles of their new home. Now, at this point, we're going to be doing this part to start with together, and then you can conclude it or finish up on it on your own. We're going to be finalizing the plan, determining the objectives, goals, and tasks needed to reach them, which is step 3, as well as implementation and evaluation, which is step 4. Take a look at the chart, which is in your handouts and represented here on this slide. Normally, there would be a column that identifies who is responsible to lead the effort. But in our case, John and Mary are working simultaneously together. They might split up the tasks, but we're not going to try to assign them as part of our exercise. One way to begin the process is to start with the end. In other words, we decide a date to have everything done, preferably before the new baby arrives. So let's assume that today's date is September 20th. In 6 months, they will have a new baby, which would be March 20th. Then we can work backward from there, if that makes sense. We're sort of reverse engineering. So in order to be in the house by March 20th, what are the steps that need to be taken to reach that goal? Just as examples, and you can put in your own on the chart that you have to write on, they need to maybe fix up their current home, find a realtor to help them sell it and put it on the market. They might then, at that point, start looking for their new home, which may or may not involve getting another realtor, but they have to find this new home. Hopefully, by the time their current home sells and they are going into closing, they need to have a plan for how they're going to move. Are they going to hire movers? Are they going to try to get rid of a lot of stuff, furniture, all the household items that they don't really want? Do they want to get rid of those before moving? These are all questions and steps in the process. And then, of course, there's the actual packing and moving step before they're actually there on March 20th. So those are just some examples you might want to use. There are quite a few illustrations of how the strategic planning process is carried out, and I found this one to be one of the more simple ones. It's assuming that we are working with a business, but this could easily apply also to personal planning. By the way, do you have a strategic plan for your life? If not, you might want to take a look at that as well. So we have the 4 steps, which we outlined before. We have our current state is step 1. Step 2 over on the right-hand side is defining the future state. Step 3 is determining the objectives and strategies. And step 4 on the bottom level is implementation and evaluation. I'll conclude with this quote. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to success. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. Strategy and tactics obviously have to go together. I'd like to thank you at this point of time for your attention. You can contact me at the phone number or the email on this slide if you'd like additional information or have a question. I also like feedback, so don't hesitate to contact me. Again, thank you for your attention. I hope you were able to get some valuable information from this.